What truly happens to our consciousness when we fall asleep? Have you ever wondered what happens when we fall asleep? In a single moment, we close our eyes and the world around us fades into nothingness. The sounds, the sights, even the weight of our own body, all of it disappears. But here's the strange thing. Something inside us remains awake, something that continues to exist even as the body rests and the mind slips into sleep. As we sleep, the mind begins to weave landscapes, encounters, and entire events that often feel as real as waking life itself. We meet people we've never known, visit places that don't exist, and experience emotions so intense they stay with us long after we wake up. But if sleep is just meant to be a biological reset for the body, why does the mind work so tirelessly to create entire worlds while we're at rest? Science offers its explanations, stages of sleep, brain regeneration, electrical activity, and chemical reactions. But none of these theories truly answer the deeper questions that haunt us. Why do some dreams feel so familiar? How is it possible to feel love, fear, or longing in worlds that exist only in our minds? And perhaps most unsettling of all, why do so many people report the eerie sensation of floating outside their own bodies, watching themselves from above, as if their consciousness could detach and roam freely through realms unknown? Dreams have always been a mysterious territory where the rules of the physical world seem powerless. In dreams, time bends, logic dissolves, and the impossible becomes real. But what if dreams are not just random fragments of the subconscious? What if every night our consciousness is actually traveling beyond reality, crossing into hidden dimensions, exploring alternate realities, or connecting with something far beyond human understanding? We're about to dive deep into this mystery together. Because understanding what truly happens when we sleep might just unlock one of the greatest secrets of existence. And what you're about to discover could change the way you see reality forever. Welcome to Beyond Reality, a space where science, spirituality, and the unknown meet. If you love exploring the mysteries of consciousness, dreams, and the hidden layers of existence, make sure to subscribe and join us on this journey. Science's take on dreams. For centuries, science has tried to explain what happens when we dream. Researchers tell us that dreams are just the brain's way of processing memories, emotions, and random fragments of our daily lives. They describe sleep as a biological necessity, a time for the body to heal, for the mind to organize information, and for our brains to flush out toxins. We now know that during REM rapid eye movement sleep, the brain becomes incredibly active. Regions responsible for vision and emotion, like the visual cortex and the limbic system, light up as if we were awake. Meanwhile, the part of the brain that controls logic and reasoning, the prefrontal cortex, quiets down. Maybe that's why dreams often feel bizarre, chaotic, and disconnected from reality. And yet, there's something about dreams that science still can't fully explain. If dreams are just random images fired off by a resting brain, why do some of them feel so vivid, so real, that we wake up breathless, haunted by emotions that linger for days? Why do we sometimes find ourselves in places we've never seen, having conversations with people we've never met, experiencing things that seem far beyond the limits of our imagination? Even more unsettling, why do some dreams seem to bleed into reality? How is it possible that people dream of events, sometimes tragedies, sometimes moments of joy, that later unfold exactly as they saw them, days or even weeks before? Are these just coincidences, or is something much stranger happening? Could dreams be something more? Science often points to probability, the subconscious mind picking up subtle clues or patterns that we don't consciously notice. But deep down, many of us feel there's more to it than that, a mystery that science hasn't solved and maybe can't. Because if dreams were only chemical reactions and random memories, why do so many cultures across time and continents describe dreams as portals? Sacred spaces where the soul travels, where hidden knowledge is revealed, and where time itself breaks down. What if those ancient traditions weren't just myths, but glimpses of a deeper truth? What if when we dream, we're not just watching a movie created by our minds, but actually stepping beyond the limits of this physical reality? The question is, what exactly are we touching when we dream? And could it be that our consciousness was never meant to stay confined to this world? Dreams and time, a glimpse into the impossible. Among the most unsettling aspects of dreaming is the way some visions slip beyond the boundaries of the present. People speak of dreams that unfold days or even weeks later, with frightening accuracy accidents, unexpected meetings, details too precise to dismiss. These aren't scattered fragments of imagination. They arrive fully formed, and when reality catches up, they leave a mark impossible to forget. Traditional science calls it coincidence, subtle patterns absorbed by the subconscious processed in sleep, then mistaken for prophecy. Still, no explanation feels complete when faced with dreams that describe places the dreamer has never visited, names they have never heard, or events that unfold exactly as seen. There are documented cases of tragic disasters, rare encounters, even entire landscapes dreamed of long before they ever happened. Not vague impressions, but intricate moments that play out with the same people, the same words, the same outcome. This strange phenomenon pulls at the edges of what we understand about time. The mind somehow drifting outside the linear path we walk while awake raises the possibility that past, present, and future aren't separate points, but layers accessible, even if only briefly, when the conscious mind lets go. The physics of time and dreams. Physics has long hinted at this possibility. Some interpretations suggest that time doesn't flow the way we perceive it. Instead, every moment exists simultaneously like pages in a book waiting to be read. If that's true, dreams might be more than psychological noise. They could be windows, fleeting glimpses into moments not yet lived. Beyond premonitions, dreams distort time itself. A single night of sleep can contain what feels like hours, days, or even years. Entire lifetimes experienced in vivid detail, only to vanish the moment the eyes open. Memories of faces that never existed, love felt for people never met, grief for losses that never happened. Inside that fragile space, time bends, memory expands, and the impossible becomes routine. Nothing in waking life prepares us for that, and yet it happens over and over again every night. Dreams refuse to obey the rules we live by. And when they spill into reality, they leave us questioning where the boundary truly lies or if it exists at all. There are moments when dreams take a different shape, when the mind no longer feels contained within the body. People describe floating above their own bodies, watching themselves from a place that seems distant, foreign, even transcendent. Is this the soul breaking free? Or is it a glimpse into a realm where the limitations of the body and mind no longer apply the journey of consciousness beyond sleep? As we continue to explore the mysteries of sleep consciousness and dreams, we may begin to ask, what if our nightly journeys are not merely products of an active mind, but true explorations into realms beyond human comprehension? What if every night we are traveling somewhere far more significant than we realize? Join us as we unravel these mysteries together, because the answers to what truly happens when we sleep might just reveal the deepest truths about existence itself, the mystery of dreams, a journey beyond the body. In the moments just before we fall asleep, our body and mind begin to transition into another world. But have you ever experienced something that makes you question the very nature of sleep? Something that feels more like an awakening than a dream? Imagine this: a person floating above their body, watching themselves from somewhere else in the room. They can recall every detail, the exact position of their limbs, the pattern on the blanket, the precise arrangement of objects around them. And when they wake up, those details hold true. The objects are in the same place. The feeling of floating is still there. These experiences are unsettling because they challenge a fundamental assumption we all carry, that consciousness is strictly bound to our physical form. But for those who have lived through these moments, there's an undeniable clarity that cannot be mistaken for a dream. The air feels different. Colors become sharper. There's no confusion, no blurred edges, only the undeniable sensation of being fully awake outside the body. This phenomenon has been described in many traditions around the world. People speak of the soul leaving the body, traveling through realms unknown to our waking consciousness and exploring places unseen by our eyes. Ancient texts don't treat this as fantasy, but as a skill that can be trained, refined, and controlled. Modern research, however, has struggled to explain this. Some dismiss it as nothing more than a vivid hallucination, the mind's attempt to make sense of something beyond its grasp. Others, faced with too many cases of startling precision, admit that there is no clear answer. One of the most notable figures to document this experience was Robert Monroe, a man who chronicled countless encounters with his own consciousness separating from his body. Over time, Monroe found himself in places he had never visited before. He described buildings, people, and events with such startling accuracy that later those descriptions were verified. Locations he'd never seen were confirmed, and people he had never met were identified. This challenges the very core of what we understand about neuroscience, that the mind is simply the brain at work. If consciousness can detach from the body, observe the world from a distance, and even gather information that would otherwise be impossible to know, then perhaps our understanding of reality is incomplete, beyond the boundaries of consciousness. These out-of-body experiences don't follow the normal rules of dreams. Dreams dissolve upon waking, fading into fragments, leaving us wondering if they were ever real. But out-of-body moments don't fade. They leave a lingering certainty that what was seen was real. Once experienced, they change something fundamental inside us, planting a quiet realization that the body is home, but it is not the limit. As sleep takes hold, something extraordinary happens deep within the brain. While the body rests, the mind enters a state that defies the logic of waking life. Hidden among these shifts, the pineal gland releases small amounts of a powerful compound known as dimethyltryptamine DMT, one of the most potent psychedelic substances found in nature. DMT induces vivid visions, altered perceptions of time, and encounters that feel impossibly real. It is found in certain plants used in sacred rituals, revered as a bridge between the physical world and something far greater, something beyond human comprehension. Within the dream state, DMT flows naturally, unnoticed and uninvited. And this raises a fascinating possibility. What if sleep itself is not just a biological process, but a built-in portal, a doorway that opens every night as our consciousness drifts free from its anchor? Those who have explored DMT-induced states describe landscapes that stretch far beyond the limits of imagination, vast structures, impossible geometries, and intelligences that seem to watch from the shadows. Many who return from these altered states struggle to explain the certainty they felt that they were not alone. If such realms exist, and if the mind accesses them naturally during sleep, it becomes harder to dismiss dreams as mere fragments of memory. What if they are not creations of the brain, but glimpses into something real, something waiting just beyond our perception? Dreams as portals to hidden realms. Experiments on altered states of consciousness show similar patterns. Under the influence of DMT, subjects often report experiences eerily similar to deep dreams or out-of-body experiences. They describe traveling through luminous tunnels, meeting beings that seem aware, curious, even expectant. What's even more unsettling is the consistency of these experiences. Different people from different cultures and parts of the world, separated by time and distance, all return from these altered states, describing the same encounters, the same places, and the same overwhelming feeling they've crossed a threshold into something far beyond this world. Could it be that dreams serve a purpose we have barely begun to understand? Not a malfunction, not a byproduct of random brain activity, but a gateway to bridge connecting us to something beyond this waking life. Each time we close our eyes, that door opens silently, unseen, whether we remember crossing it or not. Most dreams when we wake dissolve almost immediately. Faces blur, words vanish, entire worlds crumble before our eyes open. What once felt undeniable fades into fragments, half remembered, half imagined, until even the emotions they carried slip through our fingers. The mystery of forgetting dreams. Science points to the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for memory, to explain why we forget. During sleep, it operates differently, focusing less on preserving moments and more on letting them fade. This explanation, while simple, doesn't quite satisfy. There's an uneasy feeling that the forgetting isn't accidental, it may be intentional, even protective. Some researchers suggest that the mind may not just be failing to remember, but erasing certain memories selectively. If dreams truly are windows into something greater, into futures not yet lived, or realms beyond this one, then the question is not why we forget, but why we're not allowed to remember the dreams that stay with us. There are, however, moments when a dream refuses to fade. Some dreams stay with us for years, even decades, haunting the edges of our waking life. These are the dreams that carry a weight too heavy to be dismissed, the encounters that feel unfinished, the messages that seem meant for us alone. What makes these dreams different? Why do these fragments survive while the rest slip away? Some believe these persistent dreams carry meaning, either drawn from the depths of the subconscious or delivered from something far beyond it. Messages left behind by something we can't name but instinctively recognize. Others turn to ancient practices, hypnosis, or deep meditation to pull forgotten dreams back into the light, often uncovering visions too strange to explain. They describe encounters with unknown beings, glimpses of other lives, memories that feel borrowed as if they belong to someone else. And then there's déjà vu, the eerie certainty that you've lived a moment before without knowing how or when. A street you've never walked, a voice you've never heard, but somehow it all feels familiar. Some wonder if these moments are fragments of dreams resurfacing, pieces of a memory the mind tried to bury and failed. The final unsettling question: if the mind is capable of erasing what it chooses, then who or what decides what we're allowed to remember? And what would happen if we remembered it all? Inside dreams, time loses its grip. A few minutes of sleep can stretch into hours, days, or even years. Entire lifetimes unfold, relationships are formed, worlds explored, and emotions are carried so deeply that they linger long after we've woken up. And yet, when our eyes open, only minutes have passed. Perhaps the mind is doing more than simply dreaming. It's taking us on a journey through the hidden layers of existence, a journey we may not fully understand, but one that shapes who we are in ways we're just beginning to discover. The illusion of time and the truth hidden in dreams. As we continue to explore the mysteries of dreams and consciousness, we come to a perplexing realization: nothing in waking life prepares the mind for the kind of time distortion that happens in sleep. In dreams, time behaves in ways that defy every rule we trust about the passage of time. Clocks, calendars, the steady rhythm of night and day, none of it matters. In the dream world, time bends, twists, and reshapes itself in ways we can't quite comprehend. Studies on REM sleep show how differently the brain operates during those moments. Time is no longer measured in seconds or hours. Instead, it expands contracts or simply stops based on something far stranger than the physical laws we know. Lucid dreamers, those trained to remain conscious within their dreams, have tried counting and marking time as best they can. The results, however, are never the same. Sometimes time flows too fast, sometimes too slow, and sometimes it simply comes to a standstill. This fragile space where time unravels raises unsettling questions about the very nature of reality. If the mind can experience years within minutes, what does that say about the world we wake up to each day? Is time truly a constant, or is it just another layer of perception, one that we mistake for truth because it feels solid beneath our feet? Some physicists argue that time as we understand it may be an illusion. They propose that every moment, past, present, and future, exists simultaneously, already written and already waiting for us. If that's true, then dreams might offer more than mere escape or reflection. Dreams could serve as rare moments when consciousness slips beyond the illusion, touching fragments of time that our waking minds were never meant to see. The multiverse theory and its connection to dreams. There are countless stories of people waking from dreams with memories that don't belong to them. Memories of lives lived, languages spoken, grief carried from losses that never happened. The mind knows the difference between fantasy and memory, yet what stays with us from these dreams doesn't feel imagined. It feels real. Perhaps that's because in those moments it is. Time inside dreams slips through our fingers, revealing a glimpse of something our waking minds can't quite hold: a vast, timeless essence. Dreams remind us that the world we trust might only be a single version of reality, one bound by rules that fall away the moment we close our eyes. Some dreams feel too coherent to be dismissed, too structured, too detailed, and too alive. Streets that stretch beyond the imagination, cities that function with their own rules, faces that carry histories unknown to us, but somehow familiar. Waking up from these dreams often leaves a lingering ache, as if something real was left behind. The multiverse theory suggests that our reality might not be the only one. Instead, what we experience as life could be just one variation among infinite possibilities. Each universe with its own version of events, choices, and outcomes. Science treats this as a mathematical possibility, while philosophy sees it as a reflection of something much older. The idea that existence is layered, infinite, and far more complex than we can grasp. If every possible reality truly exists, then what happens when consciousness slips free of its usual anchor during sleep? What if instead of creating worlds from memory and imagination, the mind simply drifts sideways into versions of reality that exist alongside our own? This would explain the strange consistency found in dreams reported by people who've never met, never spoken, and never shared a culture. The same landscapes, the same structures, the same sense of being watched by something vast and unfamiliar. It would also explain why some dreams don't behave like dreams at all. Glimpses of other lives, dreams, or retrievals. There are countless accounts of people waking with knowledge they never learned, fragments of languages they don't speak, memories of skills they've never studied, entire emotional histories carried from lives that don't belong to them. In these moments, it feels less like invention and more like retrieval, as if consciousness wandered too far, crossed into a version of existence it was never meant to see, and brought something back. The rules we follow while awake, rules of time, space, identity, don't apply in these places, and yet the experiences feel complete, whole, unshakably real. Perhaps dreams aren't just reflections of what's inside us at all. Perhaps they are glimpses of what exists just beyond the thin line we call reality, layers stacked one over the other, invisible until the mind is free enough to see them. Every time sleep pulls us under, there's a chance we slip through. The more we pull at the threads of dreams, the more fragile waking life begins to feel. We trust this world because it holds shape. It follows rules. Gravity keeps us grounded. Time moves forward, and memory draws a clean line between what was real and what was not. But sleep exposes the cracks in that certainty. Dreams remind us that consciousness isn't confined to this body or even to this version of reality. It moves, it sees, it remembers things we were never taught. And when it returns, it carries traces of places we can't explain. The deeper question, is this all there is? The question no longer feels like whether dreams matter, but whether waking life is the whole story. Perhaps what we call reality is simply the state our minds return to, most often familiar, predictable, safe. But if dreams open the door to everything else, other times, other lives, other versions of ourselves, then sleep is no longer just rest. It's passage. A journey across a landscape too vast to see all at once. And maybe that's why we forget, not because the dreams are meaningless, but because the weight of remembering it all would be too much. If we carried every fragment of every world we touched, the borders would collapse, and this version of reality, the one that feels so solid, might fall apart. Still, there are nights when something breaks through, a dream that doesn't fade, a feeling that lingers, impossible to explain. A moment of déjà vu so strong it steals the breath from your lungs. And in those moments, it's hard to shake the sense that some part of us remembers. Some part knows that we are travelers in our sleep, voyagers through time, through memory, through worlds stacked just out of reach. What waits on the other side of that thin veil is not fantasy. It's something real, something vast. The question is never whether these places exist. The question is whether we're ready to see them. Thanks for exploring this journey beyond reality with us. Subscribe, stay curious, and remember, every night when the world falls silent, your mind may be traveling farther than you ever imagined, beyond time, beyond space, beyond everything you thought was possible.